Okay, so hey Mila. Um, hey, I wanted to kind of just start a conversation about something that's been, a big topic where I find myself feeling all types of insecurities to come up. So I figure let me just go ahead and just start talking about it and create a dialogue for those um, who may or may not have experienced it or can relate, can kind of chime in. So the first thing I did was I basically went to the dictionary and just said, okay, what does Merriam-Webster dictionary say about colorism? Like, what does that mean? Because I have all these different feelings myself, but
Right.
I wanted to start there. So colorism, per Merriam-Webster, says prejudice or discrimination, especially within a racial or ethnic group, favoring people with lighter skin over those with darker skin.
Mm.
Okay, so that's pretty much you know, uh, what my experience has been, and I know you and I have shared a different, similar experiences
Correct.
about it, and I kind of want to talk about it and not have it all in my head
Okay.
because it's very difficult to explain it to those who may or may not have experienced it.
Sure.
Prime example, I'm having a conversation um, with a couple friends of mine, close friends of mine, and we got to talking about racism and all the crap that's going on in the world with racism and how it has become something that's such an, it's a lot more aware. A lot more people are aware. When I say people, I'm talking about white people,
Yes.
not black people, because people of color they're familiar with that piece. But the part for me, I guess, that really started to strike a nerve was when I started to mention about the colorism. And immediately I felt this sense of, oh, we're not talking about this. No, this is not the time. And I started to get pretty defensive because I'm like, okay, so when is the time? Because there's never a time that I wake up and I don't feel this negative stigma
Of being
because
dark.
I'm darker
Correct.
than other Black people.
Correct.
Um, and I'm not even trying to say that it's some kind of a, like, I don't know, like, okay, I'm better or worse or some kind of measured thing of being Black. I just wanted to be able to talk about it and acknowledge that it's something that's very true for me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being a little girl and being told basically, "Oh, you're so pretty to be so dark."
I heard that one when I want to say the first time I heard it, and I remember I heard it when I was 7. My grandmother said it to me,
Hmm.
who was a lighter skinned woman.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
So
real.
it's very real. It's not just some kind of crazy thing that I'm making up in my own head. So much so that without even thinking about it, I remember having conversations with different ones about, let's say, when Kaepernick
Hmm.
took the knee, right?
Yeah.
And different ones, and I'm not talking anyone outside of a person of color.
Correct.
There was some conversations that I would be in, and they go, "Oh well, I don't know. If he was the right one for that."
Too light.
And so, because of how, and I'm grateful that I was raised, at least in this ask questions, open minded type of sense, because I immediately go to, okay, well, what is there some type of I don't know, measurement to be a certain shade of Black that would confirm that, oh, you have now reached your specific level of Black, and now you can officially say that you are Black. Because when it comes down to it, it's like, we're Black, and I think we're missing the point when we start to look at the shading of skin. I mean, honestly, for me, I've said it in different groups that I wish we could remove race completely off. I think that color should go away in discussions. I think it was Morgan Freeman who had talked about it at one point. Like, if we could, the only way that we can get past the whole race thing is if we stop talking about it. Well, for me, I need to talk about this piece of colorism. I need to, for me, in my healing process, to know that it should not matter that I'm a darker complexion in my own community specifically, because that's what this platform is about, my community. And when I say my community, I mean other people of color.
Mhm.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And it's, I think it's come to a head for me with all the different things that's been going on with the, the racial divide. And
Yes.
now I'm like, okay, I need to talk about this because I cannot be the only one. In fact, I know I'm not. I've talked to different people, you included,
Mhm.
and we've had the same type of feelings when different things are said. I mean, we're sitting in a room together and it's
A
almost
lot.
like the darker you are, you're associated with not as good looking.
Yes. And I was actually happy that you started with this topic because it's important to me. It's always been important, but right now, especially with all this going on, how race is at the forefront. And yes, I'm fighting the fight for white Americans to not be racist towards us and to see how they have it. But I'm also fighting the fight from not being discriminated against in my own group of people of color in the Black community. So it's hard for me to fight one fight and not the other.
Right.
And a lot of people have been asking me lately, well, why are you so angry? And I finally was able to identify it's because I catch it from all sides.
Right.
There's the you're pretty to be so dark, and heaven forbid if I get a tan. I like being in the sun. So if I get darker, oh, you're so dark.
Yeah.
Why is that an issue? Or something like I worked in pharmacy for a while, and people would say, "Oh, are you in school?" And they were shocked that I was in school, that I didn't have any kids, that I wasn't on drugs, and I recognize that that comes from ignorance. But
Right.
it's hard for me to call one group ignorant, but knowing I experienced that in my own group. And I remember being a kid and watching Spike Lee movie, School Days. And I was torn because it was entertainment, but it was real.
Yeah.
Because someone who looks like me was called a jigaboo
Yeah.
in my own community. And it's very hard. And I find I fight daily for that little 7-year-old girl whose grandmother started this thought of you're too dark. Because when she said that, it made me feel not good enough. And my brother, who's very light, he was good enough.
Right.
And we have to take it all the way back to when we were brought here. The lighter ones were able to stay in the house because they were prettier,
Right.
and the ones who looked like me and you were in the fields.
Right.
So it's hard for us to address racism in America, or racism, period,
Period.
without first addressing it even in our own group.
Right. Right. I mean, and it's, I think that it's good that you specifically went over all those different areas. I mean, can't even get to the in my workplace yet
I'm not
before you
here.
address, okay, I'm at home, I'm growing up as a little girl, I'm around my cousins and siblings, and my elders are saying things, and I don't know that it's necessarily to mean, like, the intent, I don't believe the intent is to mean something so bad. It's almost like it's accepted, and understanding that darker equates to not good. So with all that information as a child, you're growing up, and you're associating yourself to negative. I
Correct.
I know for me, like, even so much in relationships, like, whether it was an intimate relationship with a boyfriend or a friendship, like my, associates, girlfriends that I would hang out with, I I often felt slighted, I guess I'll say that, because I was darker. So even in assessing who am I going to go sit to the table with in school, I remember thinking about if someone as dark as me, without even like, you know, and I don't know, I'm just thinking about it now, but like without even thinking anything beyond, I'm not good enough to sit with the lighter complexion people.
Right.
Um,
What will they think of me?
what would
What
they
will
think?
they
Right. And I think that if we don't specifically talk about this piece, it makes it difficult for us to even, you know, like join together and fight this fight of racism, because the colorism, you know, our education starts at home first. So the first learning is coming from where we are growing up in that village. And so, okay, not to go back and say, okay, y'all did me wrong and y'all ruined my life, but to go and address it and say, hey, these are things that we're doing, and it's systemic in our community because
Mhm.
all of us are talking about it without even thinking we're contributing to it.
Mhm.
I know I talked to a friend of mine that we had never had this conversation about colorism until recently, but she's very, very fair skinned. So her complexion is lighter than mine. And I remember having that conversation with her. Like, I honestly felt like, I didn't know this to be true before, but I kind of felt like she was doing me a favor or felt sorry for me for being my friend because I wasn't as light as her. I mean, yeah, it sounds crazy to say it out loud now, but I know that's what I was thinking.
But it's real.
Yeah, it
It's
is. It's very
real.
real. Yeah.
Because even as you say that, I can think of a specific instance when not only did my thoughts match up to my reality, my best friend growing up, very fair skin, long hair,
Mhm.
the epitome of what people deem as attractive
Right, right.
in the Black community. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember there was a guy that she liked who happened to like me.
Mm-hmm.
Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
And we were with her dad, who was also very fair skinned.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, Dad, I just don't understand. All the boys go for her, which I was like, no, they don't.
Right.
But his comment to me, and at the time I was 15, well, not to me, but in front of me to her was,
Mm-hmm.
they go for her with all your light skin and long, pretty hair. And in that moment, I was like, so what does that say about me?
Right.
That say I'm not beautiful because I'm not light skinned with long, pretty hair. And that then this is someone who say they love me.
Right.
So I struggle and I really work hard as a therapist to and I know I'm guilty of this. My darker skinned clients, I work hard to build that self-confidence that took me so long to gain
Right.
because I understand.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to walk out in the world with your head held high and have confidence when people who say they love you tear you down initially. And you're right, we haven't even gotten to the workplace.
Right. Right.
And so, but we carry that weight daily,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of forms how we think of ourselves.
Right.
Um, I heard a quote. It was, "I'm not who I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not who you think I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm who you think I am."
Wow.
And when I really read it, I was like, huh, because that's really how we present
Mm-hmm.
in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I even noticed, and I stopped doing this years ago, but I used to shorten my name from
Yeah.
Jarmela to Mila
Yeah.
because I can't be dark skinned and have a really ethnic name.
Right.
I
Right.
can't give the world both things.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It's so it's hard to be in this racial battle now
Mm-hmm.
and not have it come up that I'm fighting a fight, but I haven't even fought it in my own community yet.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think one of the times that it hit me, and I think about it now when my kids, you know, I have my boys, I have three boys, and two of them are lighter complexion and one is darker. And I won't forget, I don't know, he must have been in middle school. And I remember him saying to me, Mom, you know, they would pick, if somebody were to like pick us in a lineup as far as somebody to want to hang out with and to be a friend with, they would pick my brothers, not me. And I, it's so, disturbing, because as sad as I felt for him and could relate to him, I knew that it was about the darker complexion. It's like going without saying, just the same thing when we talk about the racism, when we as people of color can like know the language that we associate with, I'm being singled out and not for a good thing.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think as far back as then, I was trying to attempt to undo that learning that I had growing up about that, because now I have children. I'm planting seeds. I'm to know as much as I can, learn as much as I can, so that I can be the best I can be to pour into my children. So now somehow I've become a product of what I struggle with myself to my kids.
Right.
Like I've spoken a language that kind of associated the darker you are to a negative thing. So
Right.
now, like I'm in this process of checking myself first. Like when I
Mhm.
begin to look in the mirror and maybe I'm putting on makeup or I'm getting dressed, I'm doing my best to unlearn that association from darker and not good, and not so like, not as this token, this token, because now we're seeing so much of the darker complexion as models and in movies and different things. But growing up, that wasn't the case for me. I mean, you and I grew up, I mean, we got here in the 70s, so we grew up in the 80s and 90s, which was not that long ago.
We were represented.
You're right. And so it wasn't, every now and again you see a little dark face, like the Viola Davis to me, the Regina King, the Angela Bassett, to me, some of the greatest actresses, but they weren't the ones that were getting the recognition.
No.
So you have these different things that's outside of your home, but especially in your home, to grow up with and to stay with. And now I'm like, there's something that has to be done, and I feel like we have to talk about it. We have to
We have,
talk about it.
we have to talk about the hate that's within our,
Hmm.
I start with Black community, but
Yeah.
I also hear it in the Puerto Rican community too,
Yep.
because they'll call the darker skin ones
Yep.
dark.
Yep.
You're just Puerto Rican. I'm not a dark skinned Black woman. I'm just a Black woman.
Yeah.
And so we have to start addressing the hate within our own community.
Right.
And I remember a long time ago reading the Willie Lynch letters, and
Yeah.
he discussed the
Hmm.
hate within our own community. Who taught us that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did that start? And why do we continue to
Hmm.
do it amongst
Right.
ourselves? And I have to admit, I've been guilty of it.
Right. Of course.
I've been guilty of it,
Yeah.
but
No
I've
doubt.
done it in the reverse,
Mm.
where I'm a darker skinned woman. Um, but if a lighter skinned woman even tries to discuss this issue, previously to doing some of my own work, I would dismiss it like, oh, you don't know my pain,
Right.
because
Hmm.
who discriminates against you?
Right.
But within our own community, we do. For instance, it was unheard of or talked about if a dark skinned woman and a dark skinned man got together.
Right.
Because typically it's a dark skinned man, light skinned woman, or light skinned woman, dark skinned man. But the two
Right.
dark people,
Hmm. That's really something that you say that's blowing my mind, because I remember looking at the colors of my children's ears to determine how dark. Yeah, you laugh because yes, you're like, that's going to tell you how dark they're going to be. And of course we laugh about it now because we've grown and we've addressed these things, but it's a
it's
real thing.
real. It's
And like,
real.
it is shaping generation. It has. I mean, so now I'm like, okay, I honestly feel like we talk about it, we address it, and then we start to remove the whole uh the color out of it. In my opinion, I've said this, and this is my belief, that when we begin to remove the color part out of our conversation and just say you are an intelligent woman, You are a beautiful woman. You are a handsome man. And we began to speak like that, even to our, our children, especially to our children. I remember talking to my kids and saying, you are a handsome king. And I began to say that to my children when they were young, because that's what I want them to become. I don't want them to associate a color to anything. And I think because my mom, and I think about it way back, it exposed me to so many different people. That's how I'm able to like look beyond the color. No, you won't get me saying I don't see color. Of course I see color. Colors are beautiful. That's why we have rainbows. That's why we love rainbows. Colors
Yes.
are amazing. But I think if we stop at the color, we miss so much. And then you end up our age now trying to figure out, well, why don't I think I fit in? Or why do why don't I think I'm beautiful enough or good enough or whatever? I mean, granted, I'm working on that now. I know that I belong at the seat with many others. I get that I am qualified based on my skill set and things like that. But that little girl that still needs to heal from hearing so much of the dark skin, that little girl still struggles at times when it comes to different events. And then you talked about the the name. Don't even get me started on that. My name is Tanjanika. And so even that in itself, where I have my siblings, none of them have a name from my mom that are anything like mine.
My brother is named
Right.
Anthony. My mother was Lily
Right.
and my father Frank. Jarmela.
So clearly we were supposed to stand out, right? So, I mean, we can laugh about it because, we can
Now,
see the humor in it, but it wasn't funny growing up. I literally just 2 years ago began to own my name and say that my name is Tanjanika, and proud of that because there was a shame connected to it. Like you said, I'm dark skinned. Then I grew up in a religion where we couldn't wear pants or have our ears pierced or anything. So my mama cut my hair when I was in the third grade. I had glasses. So it was like I'm an old country song, just
you're just giving all of it. And you just brought up another piece.
Mm-hmm.
Just reminded me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dark skinned,
Yeah.
have natural hair,
Yeah.
which I normally wear twisted out or in a fro,
Yeah.
and I have an ethnic name.
Uh-huh.
I can't be all of those. I have to.
Right. You gotta
Who
pick them. Yeah.
told us we couldn't?
Who told us that?
It wasn't the white community.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe it was because you're gonna get that. You're gonna get ones to say that way back,
Way
Master
back then.
said,
But
this
they
is
didn't
how we
tell me
did it. Yeah. Right.
that. My people
My
told me.
people told me that. Yeah, my people, not your people and their people, but my actual people. So I think the thing of it is now, okay, we address it, and then now what is the solution?
Right.
Because I think a lot of times we get stuck just in the recognizing an issue. Like, oh, okay, you're a racist, and then that's it.
Like,
No,
okay, now
okay.
what do you do with that? Now,
Yeah, that's information, but now what? And that's where I'm out. I'm a very solution driven person in that. And I don't know how, but other than me continuing to talk about it, but I'm a part of the change I wish to see. I've been saying that for years now, and I'm walking in that purpose. I really am. And I'm going to talk about those things that are uncomfortable. I'm going to talk about those things that I struggle with, because I know I wasn't the only little dark skinned girl who thought she was ugly and nobody wanted to hear what she had to say. Even so much that when somebody did, when I get older and I start to get in relationships, start to think that, oh, okay, I'm only good for my body.
yes, that part.
And that's
That
another whole
part.
discussion. I mean, we probably won't get to it right now,
This
but
part 4 or 5 episodes.
so because I think we're gonna, I'm hoping that we'll keep having this discussion. I'm hoping that people will chime in. I think this was a whole lot.
Yes, yes, yes. I look forward to seeing the comments and hearing the
Yep.
comments and
Yeah.
opening up the discussion. Because, like you just said, we're calling something out.
Yeah.
Now what?
Now
Because
what?
in order for there to be change, there has to be change across the board. So if we're
Across the
calling
board.
it out, at this point, you have to stay in integrity and hold yourself accountable for what you say and do and how you
Right.
talk to people. So now that you know,
Mm-hmm.
what are you going to change and move forward to to the fact that colorism won't even need to be in the dictionary anymore.
Right. Exactly.
People won't need to buy skin bleaching cream so that they can fit into the masses
Right.
or be beautiful.
Right. Right.
So I am happy we started with this one.
Yeah.
We did give people a lot.
Yes, a
And
lot of information.
a lot more.
Yeah.
Just kind of condensed it, but I think it's a good conversation
Yeah.
starter.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to, like you, different comments and everything, and I'm gonna do my best to respond and everything. I'm gonna share this on YouTube and different social media platforms and encourage everyone that lays their eyes on this to respond and give us a couple days to go through some of the comments and we'll get back to you. But definitely, I'm just honored that Jarmela is on here with me. She's a therapist, licensed medical therapist. So I think that it's very important that we not just have these conversations, but we have them with people who qualify to, discuss and also give you some information that could help you through it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now you got this information. Now what? And I'm
Right.
grateful that not only is she a therapist, but she's my friend. And I have a great deal of respect for her and what she does. So y'all stay tuned, and we look forward to hearing. Hmm?
I feel the same about you. I am so proud of you for even putting this together because I know with the conversations we've had and the thoughts behind it, there was a fear. So I am so proud of you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
Well,
am grateful that you selected me to even walk this journey with you. So thank
yeah.
you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna, like you said, even afraid, I'll do it scared. I don't, I don't want to not talk about it anymore because I understand now that not talking about a thing does not help it. And I'm in the healing part of my life. So thank you for being a part of it with me. All right.